Well, hello there, my lovely. Thank you for coming to hang out with me here on YouTube in my coaching corner. My name is Sabrina Militello, and it's wonderful to spend this time with you. I want you to start, before we get into today's lesson, I want you to start by acknowledging yourself on being in this space. Few people, and I don't think you understand how few people, because you're not one of them, actually prioritize self-awareness, prioritize learning about themselves, prioritize their growth process, their healing journey, their physical, mental, emotional health. Very few people in this world place a priority on this area of growth. And because you're here and you do, sometimes you can miss that. Sometimes you cannot acknowledge how special and extraordinary that makes you. So I wanted to start by forcing you to take a second to acknowledge yourself, to congratulate yourself, celebrate yourself before we get in, all right? Did you do it? Did you say, go me? I hope so. So today, to continue on what we've been kind of our theme for this month, which is self-awareness, I want to dive a little bit deeper into limiting beliefs. Last week, we talked about what a limiting belief is and why your brain is set up that way. I called it why your brain is trying to screw you over, because it's really important to understand how the things that we think get in the way of us being able to create the lives that we want. And I know that you no longer want to be the obstacle in your life, right? I know that there's so many things already in existence for you that you struggle against and you have to fight through and you have to navigate and kind of figure out. You don't need to be one of those obstacles, one of those hurdles that you have to jump across, right? And so these conversations are really designed to help you get out of your own way. And today we're going to dive deeper into limiting beliefs. So my business coach kind of sums up where a limiting belief comes from in this one sentence. It's something that he says often to kind of bring us back, his coachees, bring us back into our power whenever we're on a call or on a session with him. And he always says this: your limiting beliefs are always looking for a story to justify your fears and your excuses. Let me say that again. Your limiting beliefs are always looking for a story to justify your fears and your excuses. Shout out to Josh Coates. And that sentence, if you can really sit with it and marinate in it a little bit, I think you'll see just what is happening, where your limiting beliefs come from. They come from your past. They come from stories you've created or you were handed down from your past. And here's the thing that's really interesting. Because of how our brain is wired, and this comes from a lot of the work within the positive psychology realm, as well as the study of kind of neuropsychology and how the brain functions, it's really important to understand that a lot of the things that we think to be truth, a lot of the things that we believe, a lot of the things that we see as being limits on our possibility, right? Our ability to transcend or grow beyond what's real for us right now are things that were handed down from our parents or our grandparents or a parental figure, whoever it was that you grew up learning from. You kind of captured or integrated other people's beliefs in order for you to learn how to function as a human being on this planet, right? And so it's really important to take a second and question the beliefs that you have, especially the ones that are designed or the ones that keep you stuck and small and diminished. You may have this big dream or a goal to be a world famous actress. Maybe that's your thing. You would, oh my gosh, the thought of it, to be a world famous actress. But you have a belief in you that things like that don't happen for people like you. Where did you learn that you were people like you? Do you see what I mean? Who told you that you were not one of those people? Where did that belief come from? Where did you integrate that from? Where did you learn that from? Because all of our beliefs are learned. They're learned as we grew as children. So if your burning desire, it's in your soul, it's in your heart, it's the thing that you think about all the time is to be a world famous actress, but your limiting belief, the thought that keeps going on in your head is things like that, opportunities like that don't happen for people like me. Where did that come from? And before you then say, well, it doesn't matter anyway, Sabrina, it's too late for me now. I'm in my 40s. Can we just like look back at all the actors, actresses, people that have done big things in their lives, inventors, singers, poets, musicians, authors that didn't reach their pinnacle of success, that didn't even get into the industry until they were in their 40s, their 50s. I think it was Morgan Freeman. He didn't actually break into the acting realm until he was like 59 years old. And now he's one of the most notable actors of our time, right? So it's really important to not allow those yeah buts to creep in. We talked about that before, but then really question, where did that thought originate from? And if we can understand that that wasn't a thought that I created, it wasn't a limitation on my possibility that I created, I was given that, you can give it back. You can hand it back and actually have the ability to pursue the things that you want. So your limiting beliefs oftentimes came from your, it was somewhat of a legacy that we don't really want to accept, that came down from our parental figures. Another place that limiting beliefs come from are from stories we create about the things that have happened to us in our past. And notice how I said that. Not the things that happened to us in our past, the stories we create about that. I know that you've heard people say, it's not what happened, it's what you made it mean. And that's where I'm going with this, right? Because so much of our experience of life is not actually what happened to us. It's what we assimilated and made that thing mean. So say, for example, you were kind of neglected as a child. Maybe that's something. No abuse necessarily, but emotional neglect, maybe physical neglect, maybe. And you made that mean that you were unworthy of love. You made that mean that you were abandoned and you were always going to be abandoned by the people in your life, right? So your experience of life is always going to be looking for the proof. Remember what Josh said in the beginning? Is always going to be looking for the proof to justify that story. Everything that happens to you is always looking for the proof to justify that story. So you go through life looking for proof that you're not worthy of love and that the people that you care about will always abandon you. And maybe you can recognize the truth of that in yourself right now. Maybe you just had a, oh my gosh, moment because you've seen where maybe you've chosen partners that are not emotionally available because your belief is the people you love will always abandon you anyway. So you kind of look for a partner that will embody that belief. Does that make sense? Or maybe you believe that that neglect caused you to believe that you're not worthy of love. And so you sabotage every relationship that you're in. You receive love and you freak out because you don't believe, underlying, you don't believe you're worthy of it. And so you cheat or you kind of hold back your love. Maybe you retreat from the relationship. Maybe you break up when you think things are getting too serious. Can you see that? And if you can't relate to any of these examples, think about how this may show up for you in other ways in your life, other stories that are triggered by things that may have happened to you in your past and what you made those things mean. And then everything that happens in your experience of life going forward is looking to justify the efficacy and the truth of that story. Here's the thing. If that story no longer serves you, it's your responsibility to unpack it and then rewrite it. Unpack it and then rewrite it. One of my foundational stories is you don't matter. You don't belong. You're not enough. you don't get chosen. I just gave you 4. My 4 foundational stories, and these are the stories that come into my mind as limiting beliefs in my life. You don't matter, you don't belong, you're not enough, and you don't get chosen. So whenever anything happens in my life that triggers the truth of one of those stories, my brain attaches onto that, and the homegirl that lives inside my head, she starts to say, see, I told you. What's the point in you even trying? This always happens to you. Maybe you can recognize where that's happening for you too. Maybe you have a loved one where you can now understand, so that's what's happening when they deal with that. Maybe you have a child who's going through some of these kind of like struggles with her own mind right now. And you're understanding, oh my gosh, that's what's going on. Because the foundational story is almost like our default setting. I won't say it's like our factory setting, because our factory setting is clear mind, clear heart, can't lose. Tell me if you recognize where that's from. But our factory setting is a baby brain, right? Where we're waiting to be imprinted on. Everything is pure and clear. But our default setting becomes what we revert back to. I'm sweating like you would not believe. I had the hottest shower and it's making me very shiny, so I apologize for that. But our default setting is what we revert back to whenever we are in a time of struggle. When things are hard in our lives, our brain will start looking for the easiest, safest path out, which will always be to find the truth of one of those stories to justify us not doing the thing, taking the action, putting ourselves out there, going for it, hiring that acting coach, deciding that we're going to put our work out there for people to see, right? Our limiting beliefs are always looking for a story to justify our fears and excuses. Your job is to decide whether that is okay with you. And it's a constant practice. It's a constant practice. I gave you 4 of my foundational stories that are always looking to be justified and proved right. And every time something happens that triggers one, I have to decide whether or not I'm going to listen to it. I have to have the ability to separate and be like, okay, that's where this emotion is coming from. Right now, I feel defeated or frustrated because my limiting belief just found evidence for the proof, for the realness of that story. Okay, I get it. I get why I'm in this emotional state. But now I can decide whether or not I'm going to take that action from that emotional state, or I'm going to take the action from where it is that I actually want to grow from and go to. Does that make sense? Rather than always being and operating out of our triggered stories, being able to operate out of the vision that we have for our life, the hope that we have for our future, the possibility we see for our future, all the more that we want to experience better in our lives. That's the choice. And that's why this personal growth work and this self-awareness work is so important, because it gives you the ability to separate, to take that moment of space. And instead of always just responding and reacting from that emotional state that is triggered by whatever it is that they said, they did, or what happened, we get to choose how we actually want to respond going forward in the direction of where we actually want to go, not to continue to manifest the truth of that emotional state, that story. I hope this kind of gave you some enlightenment, maybe gave you some clarity. This truly has been the root of my personal growth work, my healing work. When I started to understand just how my brain operates and giving myself more of those moments of space and ability to choose different, everything started to shift. And that's the magic of being in this work, is you give yourself the space to choose again, and then everything in your life starts to shift in the direction of where you want to go, not just staying stuck in the truth of the stories that you created about what happened to you, or the legacy that was handed down to you. Yeah, I hope this served you. I really do. I would love to hear from you what your thoughts were about that. If it made a difference for you, if there's a lesson in there that you can extract and use to now apply to take your life in the direction that you actually want it to go. I would love to hear from you. Slide into my DMs, send me an email, let me know what your thoughts are, and let's continue to do this growth work together. See you later.